Good morning, everybody. We are into May now, May 2nd. I want to show you a couple things that we've been working on. Some irrigation for the north end of the property via way of the pond. So I want to show you what we've done to get that accomplished. As you know, we have a pump under the tarp and water coming from the pond to the garden over here to keep that watered. So what we've done is, since we have fruit trees at the north end of the pond, we've hooked up an additional pipe here to the pump and have run it along the edge of the pond all the way down to the north end. So let me go down there and show you how it comes up and where it goes. Approaching the banana trees here on the north side, and here to my left is where the pipe comes up out of the water from the other end. Corey has dug a trench here, and this takes us over to the edge of the blue shed to a spigot that he put in. And look, we've got some volunteer squash. I think it's spaghetti squash, I'm not sure, but I'm okay with that. It's really pretty. But this continues on to the edge of the blue shed, where we have a three-way here. So the fruit trees back here, it's all very overgrown right now. Macadamia nut tree, sapodilla, so that we can water these in the spring by the pond water, and that would be our source of watering. We're feeling really accomplished about this, so that's the update on that. Now I want to show you what I'm doing in the garden. I've gotten a lot weeded, but today I'm going to be putting weed mat in the rows in the walkways so that the weeding isn't so bad. Then the next step, we're going to mulch on the grow rows. Hopefully the sun isn't horribly in the way, but as you can see, I've done a lot of weeding here. And so the plants that you see in there, that's purslane. I like that. It's a good ground cover, but that will get covered with the weed cloth. So I'll cover the rows, the walk rows, with the weed cloth, the weed mat, and then we'll mulch in the grow rows, and that will keep the moisture and the insulation up on the grow rows for the microbiology in the soil. I see I've got some squash to harvest, and on the other end I've got tomatoes to harvest for sure. It's looking a lot better in here. I'm really happy about that. I want you guys to check out the volunteer sunflowers in this garden. They're all facing east, of course, toward the rising sun, and they're just absolutely gorgeous. I love them. We decided to leave them just for a spot of cheer and irregularity in the garden, and that's so pretty. Over here on the east side, I've got a bunch of tomatoes coming in. I'll be coming out here to pick those. They're doing really well. Got some disease here, but I think that's because of previously not taking the best care of these and not really knowing what we needed to do. But we're figuring it out. That one's a really nice sized tomato. Very pretty. As I look at the other side where the romas are planted, I see some red, I see some coloration coming in. That's cool. I'll have to really watch these closely in the near future. Oh, and I need to go and harvest some beans. thing, I've got this weed mat rolled out, and it's really long, and it's not even the full length of the roll. But I have to cut this at least in thirds to go down our walk paths in the garden. I am contemplating how is best to do this. I thought about unrolling the whole roll and then folding it in thirds, which such a long piece is going to be really awkward. Using scissors to cut it is going to be murder on my hand. I may have a utility knife, may do that, or I may cut the length to the length of the side of the garden that I'm working on, those rows, and then put it in thirds. I think that's probably going to be the best. Yeah, just one of those challenges. Now this little handy tool measures as you go how many feet something is, and it has a reset button. I would suggest or recommend this to anyone who has long distances to measure. It's been wonderful for us, especially with a larger property than a regular neighborhood property. I'm going to use this to walk off one of the rows in the garden so that I can then measure ground cloth that I need to cut for it. I think that's going to make it a lot easier, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the length to the length of the rows that I'm doing, and then cut it in thirds. Okay, so that says it's 54, almost 55 feet. So I will cut that to give it a margin around that. Alright, so what I've done is folded this length of 60 feet in thirds, and I've gone along and pressed down either side just to make kind of a crease so that I could cut along there. So I will cut it now. I'm going to try using the Fiskars. Let's see how long that lasts. Alright, so I have my lengths, and I am about to spread or to separate them so that I can just go ahead and lay them in the beds. Got 3 rows done, or the mat placed in the rows. I will staple them in and just keep going along in the garden. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 8 more rows to go, and hopefully I can get that far today.